The last screw would not sit straight. I backed it out, checked the thread, and tried again. My hands had rigged helicopter drops, rebuilt hydraulic launchers, and disarmed faulty squibs with actors screaming behind me. Yet that tiny brass screw made my fingers shake. The crib stood half-finished in the room Serafina had chosen for our baby. She had pointed at the empty corner 2 weeks earlier and smiled. "Put it there," she'd said, pressing my palm against her stomach, close enough that I can see the baby from the chair. At 12 weeks, there had been nothing to feel yet. I had kept my hand there anyway. My phone vibrated on the floor. I ignored it and tightened the screw. It vibrated again. Then a third time. I wiped sawdust from my palm and picked it up. The number was unfamiliar, but the area code belonged to Beverly Hills. Honon Valley. A woman hesitated. "Mr. Vale, this is Westbridge Surgical Center. I'm calling regarding your wife's discharge paperwork." I looked at the clock. Serafina had told me she was meeting her obstetrician for another ultrasound. "What discharge paperwork?" A pause. "Mrs. Hart listed you as her emergency contact. We need to confirm where her post-procedure documents should be sent." I straightened slowly. "What procedure?" The woman's voice changed. It became careful and professional. "I'm sorry. I assumed you were aware. My wife is 12 weeks pregnant." Silence filled the call. I heard papers move on her end. "Mr. Vale, I'm not authorized to discuss details without the patient's consent. You called me." "Yes, because your name appears on the emergency contact form." I gripped the phone harder. "Is my wife still pregnant?" Another silence. That one answered me before she spoke. "The procedure was completed this morning. She was discharged approximately 40 minutes ago." The room seemed to tilt, but my feet stayed planted. I looked at the crib. A folded blanket sat inside it, gray with small white stars. Serafina had bought it herself after our first ultrasound. Was there a medical emergency? "I can't disclose." Was her life in danger? The woman exhaled. "No emergency was reported." My thumb pressed against the edge of the phone until it hurt. "Who picked her up?" "I'm sorry, sir." "Was it Damon Cross?" She went quiet again. I ended the call. For several seconds, I heard nothing except my own breathing. Then I opened the location app Serafina and I had shared since a stalker incident 3 years earlier. Her phone was not at Westbridge. It was moving north on Robertson Boulevard. Her car's tracking account showed a destination already entered into the navigation history. Belladonna Private Aesthetics, a cosmetic surgery clinic. I stared at the address and felt something inside me turn cold. Damon Cross had posted about that clinic the night before. His fans had spent years talking about the thin scar across his chest, the one he got during a staged knife fight in the movie where he and Serafina first met. They called it the love cut. 2 days ago, Damon had announced that a specialist was going to restore the scar without erasing its history. I looked back at the crib. While I had been fitting wooden rails together for our child, my wife had ended the pregnancy and gone to hold her ex-husband's hand while a doctor polished his image. I drove to the clinic without calling her. The receptionist recognized me when I entered. Her eyes moved to the scar on my face, then quickly away. "I'm here for Serafina Hart. She's with a patient." "I know, sir." "You can't." The elevator doors opened. Serafina stepped out first. She wore dark glasses and an oversized coat. A paper hospital band circled her wrist. Damon walked beside her with his shirt open under a loose jacket. A small white dressing covered the shallow line near his collarbone. Serafina's hand rested around his arm. She stopped when she saw me. Her fingers tightened before she pulled away. "Ronan?" I looked at the hospital band. "Tell me the clinic made a mistake." Her mouth parted, but no words came. Damon's brows drew together. "This isn't the place." I kept my eyes on my wife. "Tell me our baby is still alive." Serafina glanced toward the receptionist and lowered her voice. "You shouldn't have come here." The words landed harder than a confession. I stepped closer. I was building the crib. Her face twitched. "Ronan, please don't make a scene. I asked you a question." Damon moved between us. "She's exhausted. Back off." I looked at him. "You don't speak for my wife." His jaw tightened, but he did not move away. Serafina placed a hand on his shoulder. "Damon, it's fine." That gesture told me more than any kiss could have. Even now, she was calming him. I pointed at the paper band around her wrist. "Was there a medical emergency?" "No." "Did the doctor say the pregnancy had to end?" "No." "Did you tell me?" "I was going to." When you were calm enough to listen." I laughed once, but there was no humor in it. I canceled 6 weeks of overseas work. I redesigned your entire shooting schedule. I found two doubles who matched your current measurements. I had North Star's medical team approve low-impact coverage. What exactly did you think I wouldn't understand? Her expression hardened. The investors weren't going to wait. They hadn't even received the revised plan. Damon spoke to them. I turned toward him. He shrugged, as if we were discussing a delayed premiere. The project is fragile. Serafina knows that. She was pregnant. She is an action star. She was my wife. Serafina pulled off her glasses. Her eyes were tired, but not from grief. I had seen grief on sets. I had held stuntmen who knew they would never walk normally again. What I saw in her was irritation. "You're making this about you," she said. "Our child died this morning." "Don't say it like that." "How should I say it?" Her lips pressed into a thin line. "It was a pregnancy, Ronan. 12 weeks. The doctor already said there were risks. The doctor said you needed rest. And rest would have cost me the movie." I looked at Damon's bandage. "What did his scar cost you?" Damon's face darkened. Serafina immediately stepped closer to him. "This procedure had nothing to do with my decision. You ended our pregnancy, then came here. He needed someone with him. So did our child." She flinched. For the first time, guilt crossed her face. It lasted less than a second. Then Damon spoke. "This movie may be my last chance. You have no idea how difficult it is to rebuild a career after the entire industry turns on you." I stared at him. "The industry turned on you because you showed up drunk, broke a stuntman's jaw, and drove a camera car through a locked safety lane." His nostrils flared. "That incident was settled because someone else paid the settlement." Damon took a step toward me. Serafina caught his arm. "Stop. Both of you." I looked down at her hand, gripping him. "Did he ask you to do it?" "No one forced me. That wasn't my question." Her gaze shifted away. Damon explained the schedule. "What did he say?" "Ronan, what did he say?" She lifted her chin. "He said the investors wouldn't accept a pregnant action lead. He said they'd replace me before the second trimester. He said if I walked away now, the project would die and he would never get another studio offer. And you believed him. I made a professional decision. You made it without your husband. It was my body." "Yes." My voice stayed quiet. "That made it your legal choice. It did not make it less of a betrayal." Damon rolled his eyes. "Good. You've made your speech. Let her go home." I turned to him. "Did you sit beside her during the procedure?" "No." Serafina answered too quickly. "He had his own consultation." I nodded toward the fresh dressing on his chest. "For that?" Damon adjusted his shirt. The scar tissue pulled badly under lighting. I stared at the tiny bandage. 6 years earlier, an explosive charge had fired 9 seconds early on a downtown set. Serafina had been pinned behind burning debris. I had gone back in after carrying out 6 others. A metal fragment tore across my cheek. The scar had never stopped her from sleeping beside me when she needed protection from nightmares. It had only become ugly after she stopped needing me. Serafina followed my gaze and gave a tired sigh. "Don't compare them." "Why not?" "Because they're different." "How?" She folded her arms. "At least Damon's scar means something to the audience. It's part of our history. People remember that movie. They remember us." I touched the ridge along my left cheek. "And mine?" Her eyes flicked to it. For years, she had avoided looking directly at the scar. That day, she studied it with open disgust. "Yours makes people uncomfortable." Damon's mouth curved slightly. Serafina continued. "It's harsh. It looks violent. Every time you come to a premiere, photographers shift me to the other side because they don't know how to frame you." I felt my face go still. She mistook that stillness for weakness. "Damon's scar has beauty," she said. "It has a story people actually want to hear." I took one step toward her. "Do you remember how I got mine?" Her expression tightened. "Of course I do." "Say it." "Ronan, not here." "Say it." She looked around the lobby. 2 nurses had stopped pretending not to listen. Her cheeks colored. "That was 6 years ago." I waited. She refused to say the words. She refused to admit that I had been burned saving her. Damon gave a low laugh. "Let the past go, man." I looked at the medical bracelet on Serafina's wrist, then at his bandage. "The past is the only reason either of you has a future." Serafina's eyes sharpened. "What is that supposed to mean?" I took out my phone and photographed her wristband. Then Damon's dressing. Then the tablet tucked under his arm. The screen still displayed the production schedule for their reunion film. Damon pulled it against his chest. "What the hell are you doing?" "Documenting." Serafina reached for my phone. I moved it out of her grasp. "Delete those." "No." This is private medical information. I didn't photograph your records. You're trying to punish me. No. I looked at her. I'm documenting the end of my marriage. Her anger disappeared. For the first time that morning, she looked afraid. You don't mean that. I was building a crib while you were ending our child. We can have another baby. The sentence came out so easily that I almost did not understand it. You stepped ahead. She stepped closer, lowering her voice as though she were negotiating a contract. This timing was wrong. After the movie, we can try again. A child isn't a production slot. I didn't say that. You just did. Damon checked his watch. Serafina, we're late for the investor call. She glanced at him automatically. That was when I knew there was nothing left to save. Even with our marriage bleeding out between us, Damon's meeting mattered more. I removed my wedding ring. Serafina's eyes fixed on it. Ronan, I closed my hand around the ring. I won't argue with you in a clinic. Relief crossed Damon's face. He thought I was surrendering. He smirked. Good. Let the adults handle the movie. I looked at him for a long second. Then I walked away. When I got home, the crib was still standing. I dismantled it piece by piece. I folded the gray blanket and placed it in the box. My hand paused over the white stars, but I forced the lid shut. Then I called Miles Bennett, my family attorney. He answered on the second ring. Ronan, everything okay? Prepare divorce papers. Silence. Are you certain? Yes. Do you want emergency financial restrictions? Not yet. What happened? I looked at the closed crib box. My wife made a choice. Miles knew better than to push. I'll have the first draft tonight. My next call was harder. Helena Royce answered immediately. She rarely did that for anyone. Ronan, I need a report. Her tone changed. What kind? Every North Star guarantee connected to Serafina Hart. Insurance exceptions. Studio discounts. Reshoot funding. Equipment access. International distribution. All of it. A pause. Did she discover who you are? No. Then why now? I said nothing. Helena's voice softened. What did she do? She ended the pregnancy. The silence on her end became absolute. Then she asked, was it medically necessary? No. Damon? Yes. Helena inhaled slowly. Do you want me to freeze her projects? Not yet. Her current film is already using North Star resources. I know. What do you want me to do? I looked at the empty space where the crib had stood. I want to know how much of her career still belongs to her when my name is removed. Helena did not hesitate. I'll have the full file within the hour. 23 minutes later, it arrived. The first page listed 3 hidden investments, 2 insurance guarantees, 1 emergency overseas distribution agreement, and a reshoot payment large enough to buy a small studio. At the bottom was a project scheduled for launch in 48 hours. Crossfire Hearts, starring Serafina Hart and Damon Cross. The venue was North Star Studios West. My phone buzzed. A message from Serafina appeared. You need to attend the launch as safety consultant. Wear something professional. Damon and I need the press focused on the movie, not your face. I read it twice. Then I opened my hand and placed my wedding ring on top of the divorce file. She thought she was ordering a disposable crewman to stand quietly in the back of the room. She had no idea she had just invited the owner of the studio to watch her destroy herself. Serafina came home after midnight. I heard the front door open, then the sharp click of her heels crossing the hallway. She did not call my name until she reached the room that had been meant for our child. Ronan? I stood in the doorway behind her. She stared at the empty space where the crib had been. Her shoulders stiffened. What did you do with it? I packed it. She turned quickly. You took it apart? There was no reason to leave it standing. Her face tightened as if I had done something cruel to her. You could have waited. For what? She opened her mouth, then closed it. I folded my arms. For the baby to come back. Don't. You brought it up. She pressed 2 fingers against her temple. I had surgery this morning. I am exhausted. You still made it to Damon's investor call. Her hand dropped. So you're tracking me now? You told me you were seeing your obstetrician. You ended our pregnancy and went to another man's clinic. I found the truth because the clinic called me by mistake. I didn't plan it that way. That's the problem. You didn't plan to tell me at all. She walked past me and entered our bedroom. I followed, stopping near the door as she removed her earrings. She studied my reflection in the mirror instead of looking at me directly. Damon thinks you photographed us because you want to leak something. I don't care what Damon thinks. He believes you're trying to sabotage the launch. I haven't done anything to the launch. Then promise you won't. I gave a quiet laugh. She turned. I'm serious. So am I. You're still the project's safety consultant. You have a responsibility. I had a responsibility to my wife, too. Apparently, contracts matter more to you than vows. Her jaw tightened. This is exactly why I didn't tell you before the procedure. You turn everything into a moral judgment. You killed our child to protect a movie schedule. It was not a child yet. It was when you showed me the ultrasound. That was different. It became different when Damon needed you available. Her eyes flashed. You don't understand this industry. You sit here. For 6 years, I had negotiated with insurers, studio boards, union representatives, foreign distributors, and completion bond companies to keep her career alive. She still believed I checked cables for a living. Explain it to me, I said. She took a breath, as though speaking to someone slow. I'm 31. Action actresses don't get unlimited chances. A pregnancy changes everything. My body, the insurance, the schedule, how the audience sees me. I solved the insurance problem. You drafted a proposal. It had preliminary approval from people who like you because you inspect their equipment. I almost smiled. She misread my expression. Don't act superior. You're good at your job, Ronan, but you don't know what it feels like to carry a $100 million production. I looked at her for a long moment. No, I know what it feels like to carry the person standing in front of it. She looked away first. I took the divorce papers from the folder in my hand and placed them on the dresser. Her gaze dropped to them. What is that? You know, she did not touch the papers. You called a lawyer already? Yes. Less than 1 day after the procedure, you made your decision before the procedure. Her face went pale, then hardened. You're angry. I understand that. No, you don't. People say things when they're hurt. I'm not saying anything I'll take back. She stepped closer. Then listen to me. We don't need to destroy our marriage over one decision. One decision? Yes. You said here. She folded her arms across her chest. I'm not saying it wasn't painful, but we can move forward. You mean I can move forward while you pretend nothing happened? I never said that. You came home and asked about the crib before you asked whether I was okay. Her lips parted. I knew you were upset. You knew I was building it. She looked at the divorce papers again. Tomorrow is not the time for this. Tomorrow is exactly the time. Her expression sharpened. What does that mean? It means I'll attend your launch. Relief flickered across her face. Good. You asked me to. I need you to act professionally. I always do. She hesitated. There's one more thing. I waited. She rubbed her bare ring finger. She had removed her wedding ring again. For the press campaign. Damon, and I need to lean into the old chemistry. How far? It's promotional. That wasn't my question. She lifted her chin. The audience wants nostalgia. They want to believe there's still something between us. There is. That's not fair. You ended our child for his comeback movie. I made a career decision. You sat beside him while he had a cosmetic procedure. He was nervous. You weren't there when I woke up after 3 surgeries. She flinched. That was 6 years ago. You keep saying that like time erased what happened. It changed what matters. I nodded. At least you're finally honest. She stepped closer and lowered her voice. For the next few months, I need you to stay out of the spotlight. No premieres, no interviews, no backstage photographs. You want me to remain your husband in private while you sell a romance with Damon in public. It's marketing. Was the abortion marketing too? Her hand moved before she could stop herself. She slapped me. The sound cut through the room. Her eyes widened. I touched my cheek, not the scarred side. She raised her hand halfway, then let it fall. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. You pushed me. No, I asked you to hear yourself. Her breathing quickened. I can't do this tonight. You won't have to do it much longer. I left her standing beside the divorce papers. The next morning, Miles called. The filing is ready. I also found 3 transfers from your joint investment account to Crossfire Hearts Development LLC. How much? $840,000. I closed my eyes. Serafina funded Damon's film. Without your written consent. Document it. Don't freeze anything yet. You're giving her room to move money. I'm giving her room to reveal herself. Miles paused. You sound like your father. My father would have shut the studio doors already. And you? I want her to walk onto the stage first. North Star Studios West was crowded when I arrived. Reporters filled the press area. Producers stood beside sponsor walls. Damon's old movie posters had been enlarged and placed near the entrance, each one showing him and Serafina staring at each other as though the last 6 years had never happened. Crew members greeted me as I passed. Morning, Ronan. Rigging inspection is ready when you are. Vehicle team corrected the turn radius. I nodded to each of them. Serafina's publicist, Vanessa Cole, hurried toward me. She wore a headset and looked irritated before she even reached me. You're late. I'm 12 minutes early. For crew. That's late. I looked at the stage clock. Is that a new rule? It's Damon's launch. He wants everyone in position before the press comes in. The press is already here. Vanessa glanced at my clothes. You didn't wear a suit. I'm working. Serafina specifically asked you to look presentable. I wore a black work jacket, dark pants, and steel-toed boots. The same type of clothes I had worn while saving her life. I am presentable. Vanessa's eyes moved to my scar. We'll keep you behind the technical station. Where's the final stunt package? She handed me a folder. I opened it and stopped at the vehicle sequence. Damon was scheduled to drive through a controlled explosion, jump a modified muscle car across a 30-foot gap, and exit before the second charge. Who approved this? Damon. He can't approve his own stunt. He performed bigger sequences 15 years ago. He failed his medical recertification. Vanessa lowered her voice. That report is confidential. It's also relevant when he wants to launch a 2-ton vehicle over a crew. Don't create problems today. I prevent them. She stepped closer. Ronan, Serafina told me what happened. I'm sorry, but this is not the place to punish her. I closed the folder. Rejecting an unsafe stunt isn't punishment. People will think you're jealous. I don't care what people think. That's easy for you to say. Your face isn't on the poster. No, it's usually underneath the person who falls off it. Vanessa stared at me, then walked away. Damon entered 20 minutes later. His shirt was open far enough to display the thin line on his chest. The dressing had been removed. Makeup had been applied around the scar, so the cameras could still see it. He spotted me and smiled. Vale, cross. His gaze dropped to the folder in my hand. You approve the jump? No. His smile disappeared. Why? You failed 2 sobriety screenings and 1 reaction time test. Your certification is inactive. I'm sober. You were sober when you arrived. His eyes narrowed. You calling me a drunk? I'm reading your file. Serafina joined us in a silver dress. She wore no wedding ring. Her hand settled against Damon's chest while a photographer adjusted the position of his collar. She glanced at me. Not now. I'm not approving the jump. Her mouth tightened. We discussed this. No. Damon submitted a stunt plan. I rejected it. You're doing this because of yesterday. I would reject it if he were a stranger. Damon stepped close enough that I smelled mint over alcohol. You're afraid she'll remember what a real leading man looks like. I looked at his pupils. You've been drinking. He laughed loudly. Coffee. Then you won't mind a blood test. His smile vanished. Serafina grabbed my arm and pulled me aside. Stop humiliating him. He's impaired. You can't know that. I've removed drunk performers from sets before. Damon is not some background stuntman. No. Background stuntmen usually respect safety rules. Her fingers dug into my sleeve. You will approve the sequence. No. I am the lead actress and executive producer. And I'm the safety authority. You work for us. I looked at her hand on my arm. No. Serafina. I never did. She released me. Before she could ask what I meant, the stage manager called her name. Damon extended his arm. She took it. They walked onto the stage together. Cameras flashed. The moderator introduced them as the most unforgettable action couple of their generation. Damon smiled at Serafina. This movie is about unfinished stories. She touched his chest, and scars that never really disappear. The reporters laughed softly. A journalist raised her hand. Serafina, your fans have called Damon's scar the love cut for years. What does it mean to you now? Serafina looked at him with a rehearsed tenderness I had not seen directed at me in years. It reminds me of who we were before the world became complicated. Damon covered her hand with his. It reminds me of the person who never stopped believing in me. I stood behind the technical area and watched my wife feed him a live bill for my money. Another reporter asked, how does your husband feel about this reunion? Serafina glanced toward me. For 1 second, I thought she might finally tell the truth. Instead, she smiled. Ronan works in production safety. He understands that professionals separate private feelings from art. Damon leaned toward the microphone. He's great with screws, wires, and warning labels. The room laughed. Serafina laughed with them. He keeps things stable, she added. Damon makes people feel something. A reporter near the front turned toward me. Ronan, is it difficult watching your wife recreate romance with her ex? I walked closer to the stage. No. Serafina's shoulders relaxed. I continued. What's difficult is watching an uncertified performer pressure a production into approving a stunt he's medically unfit to attempt. The laughter stopped. Damon stood. You son of a. Serafina rose and stepped between us. This is not a safety briefing. It became one when you announced he would perform the vehicle jump. She smiled tightly for the cameras. We trust Damon. Trust does not replace certification. A producer whispered to another executive. Damon noticed and pointed at me. He's sabotaging the film because his wife chose a better partner. I opened the folder. You failed 2 sobriety screenings. A wave of murmurs spread through the press. Serafina slapped the folder from my hand. Pages scattered across the floor. You had no right. I had every right. She glared at me. You're a consultant. I'm the only person in this room willing to stop him from killing someone. Damon stepped down from the stage and shoved my shoulder. I did not move. You want to act tough because of that scar? He pointed toward my face. A real leading man knows when damage adds character and when it just makes people uncomfortable. Several cameras turned toward us. Serafina looked at my scar. I've asked him to have it fixed. A reporter called out. Why won't you? Before I answered, Serafina did it for me. Some people become attached to their damage. Damon touched the line on his chest. A scar should support the image, not ruin it. They stood together while the room watched me. 6 years earlier, Serafina had held my burned face between her hands and called the scar proof that courage existed. Now she used it as a punchline to make her ex look beautiful. I bent down and gathered the safety reports. Serafina mistook my calm for defeat. She pointed toward the doors. Security. Remove him. No one moved. 2 guards looked at each other. One of them, Marcus Hale, had worked for Northstar for 11 years. I knew his wife's name, his daughter's college, and the date of his niece's surgery. Serafina raised her voice. Did you hear me? He is disrupting my launch. Marcus looked at me. I gave him no instruction. That made Serafina angrier. He is a consultant. She snapped. I am the star. A woman's voice came from behind the reporters. And that is precisely the problem. Every camera turned. Helena Royce walked through the crowd. Serafina's expression changed instantly. Her anger disappeared beneath a polished smile. Helena, she hurried down from the stage and embraced her. The Queen of Hollywood herself. I didn't know you were coming. Helena did not return the embrace. She looked past Serafina and held out her hand to me. I gave her the folder. She read the first page, then the second. Damon forced a laugh. This is a private disagreement. Helena raised her eyes. No, this is a production risk. She faced the reporters. Northstar Motion Group will not insure the proposed vehicle sequence. Serafina froze. Damon stepped forward. We'll use another insurer. Northstar's findings will be circulated to every completion bond company participating in the project. The lead producer went pale. Helena continued. Until Mr. Cross completes medical recertification and an independent sobriety evaluation, Northstar will also deny access to its vehicles, rigging teams, stage facilities, and international distribution partners. Damon's mouth fell open. Serafina stared at Helena. You can't destroy $100 million film because one safety consultant is offended. Helena closed the folder. He is not one safety consultant. Serafina laughed sharply. Then what is he? Helena looked at me. She did not expose me immediately. She gave me the choice Serafina had never given me. Ronan, she said, do you want me to continue? I looked at my wife. Her hand was still resting against Damon's chest. For years, I had hidden the truth to protect her pride. She had repaid me by trying to throw me out of my own studio. Tell them, I said. Helena turned toward the cameras. Northstar Motion Group is not controlled by anonymous investors. Its majority owner inherited his controlling interest 3 years ago. She pointed at me. The man Serafina Hart just ordered security to remove is Ronan Vale, chairman and principal owner of Northstar. No one spoke. Serafina's face emptied. She looked from Helena to me, waiting for one of us to laugh. That's impossible, she whispered. I stepped onto the stage she thought belonged to her. You were right about one thing, Serafina. Her lips trembled. I placed the rejected stunt plan on the table between us. I did spend years checking the wires beneath your career. Then I looked at Damon. Now I'm cutting them. For 3 seconds, no one moved. Then every reporter in the room started shouting. Mr. Vale, how long have you owned Northstar? Did your wife know? Was today staged? Is Crossfire Hearts canceled? Serafina stared at me as though the man she had married had been replaced while she wasn't looking. Her hand slipped from Damon's chest. No, she whispered. Helena stood beside me, holding the rejected stunt package against her hip. Serafina shook her head harder. No, North Star has a board. It has institutional investors. You check harnesses. A few people in the crowd lowered their eyes. They knew how ridiculous she sounded. I looked at her. You stopped asking what I did a long time ago. I know what you do. No, you know what you decided I was. Damon recovered first. He stepped back onto the stage and forced a laugh. This is obviously some kind of publicity stunt. Helena turned toward him. North Star's corporate counsel is present. So is our chief operating officer. She nodded toward two executives near the press wall. Neither smiled. Helena continued. Ronan inherited his controlling interest after the death of his father, Alistair Valle. He chose not to assume a public title until now. Serafina's lips trembled. You told me your father owned equipment companies. He did. You never said North Star. You never asked which companies. That's not normal. Neither is hiding an abortion from your husband. Her face went white. The microphones caught every word. Damon glanced toward the exit. I saw the exact moment he began calculating how to leave without looking afraid. Serafina stepped toward me. You let me embarrass myself. I almost laughed. You ordered security to throw me out. You could have stopped me. I did. For 6 years. She stared at me. Helena handed the folder to an assistant and took the microphone from the moderator. This launch is suspended, she said, since Ms. Hart has questioned Mr. Vale's authority. North Star will clarify the record. Serafina turned on her. You don't get to expose my private marriage. Helena's expression did not change. You made your marriage part of the press event when you mocked your husband in front of 40 cameras. Damon stepped forward. This project has investors outside North Star. Not anymore, Helena said. The lead financier, Grant Mercer, raised both hands. Let's not make statements on my behalf. Helena looked at him. Your completion bond depends on North Star Insurance. Grant's mouth closed. She faced the reporters again. 5 years ago, Serafina Hart was cast in her first major action film. The insurer refused to cover her because she had no stunt record and had already ignored 2 safety instructions during pre-production. Serafina's eyes snapped toward me. What are you doing? Helena kept speaking. Ronan provided a personal guarantee through the Vale Family Trust. He also assigned North Star's highest-rated stunt team to the production at below market cost. A reporter called out. Did Ms. Hart know? No, Helena said. Ronan insisted that she not be told. Serafina's face twisted. Why? I answered. Because you were terrified people would say you only got the role because of me. You should have told me. You cried for 3 nights because a blogger called you a producer's pet. I thought protecting your confidence mattered. It did. Then don't complain because I protected it. Helena continued. On Ms. Hart's second action feature, an unauthorized change to a motorcycle sequence destroyed 2 cameras and injured a stunt rider. Serafina pointed at her. That was ruled an equipment failure. No, Helena said. That was the public statement. The stunt coordinator from that film, Ray Delgado, stood near the back. He crossed his arms and looked directly at Serafina. Helena gestured toward him. Mr. Delgado's original report stated that Ms. Hart ignored the plan's stopping mark. Serafina turned toward Ray. You agreed it was the brake system. Ray's jaw tightened. I agreed because Ronan covered my rider's surgeries and made sure the crew kept working. She looked at me. I said nothing. Helena did not stop. North Star purchased the damaged footage, funded 11 days of reshoots, and settled the equipment claims. The cost was $4.8 million. The room erupted again. Serafina grabbed my arm. You paid that. I removed her hand. You would have been uninsurable. You lied to me. I saved your career. That gave you no right to control it. I never controlled it. That was the mistake. Her mouth opened, but Helena was already moving to the next page. The role that earned Ms. Hart her first major award nomination originally had 9 minutes of screen time. Serafina went still. Helena looked toward director Jonathan Reed, who stood beside the production executives. Mr. Reed? Jonathan cleared his throat. Ronan asked me to reconsider the character. Serafina stared at him. You told me the studio wanted the rewrite. The studio did, Jonathan said, after Ronan bought out one of the financing partners who objected. She turned slowly toward me. You bought part of that film? Through a North Star subsidiary. And you never told me? You were proud of earning the role. I did earn it. I know. My answer seemed to hurt her more than an accusation. Because I was not claiming her talent was fake. I was showing her that talent had never been the entire story. Helena handed a tablet to the event technician. A list appeared on the large screen behind us. 3 hidden investments, 2 insurance guarantees, 1 emergency reshoot fund, 2 overseas distribution rescues, discounted access to aircraft, vehicles, stages, and stunt teams. Serafina read every line. Her breathing became shallow. Damon leaned toward her. Don't let them rewrite your career. She looked at him, desperate for something solid. He placed a hand on her back. You were the face of those films. You did the work. I watched her straighten. For a second, Damon gave her what she wanted. A version of reality where I was only a bitter husband trying to steal credit. She faced the reporters. My performances were mine. No amount of financing can create what I did on screen. I agree, I said. Her eyes narrowed. You do? Yes. I never asked for your awards. Then why are you doing this? Because you stood in my studio and told the world I only understood screws and wires. Damon scoffed. That still doesn't make him an artist. I looked at him. It makes me the man who decides whether you're allowed near a stunt car. His expression hardened. Helena lifted one finger toward the technician. The screen changed. Grainy production footage appeared. My stomach tightened before the video even began. I knew the date stamped in the corner. 6 years earlier. Serafina recognized it too. No, she said. The footage showed a city block set moments before the explosion. A charge fired early. Flame burst through a false storefront. Crew members scattered. The camera shook as someone screamed that performers were trapped. Then I appeared in frame. I ran toward the fire. A reporter whispered, "That's Ronan?" The video showed me carrying the first injured actor out. Then a second. Then dragging 2 others through smoke with a grip helping me. By the time I went back in, my jacket had started burning at one shoulder. Someone behind the camera yelled, "Vale, stop!" I didn't. The footage showed falling metal strike the left side of my face. My knees hit the ground. I got up. Then I disappeared into the smoke again. When I came out, Serafina was in my arms. Her face was black with soot. Her body hung limp against me. The footage froze. Helena looked at the reporters. 7 people survived that explosion because Ronan went back for them. Then she looked at Serafina. You were the 7th. Serafina stared at the screen. Her lips moved without sound. I remembered waking in the hospital with half my face wrapped in gauze. She had climbed into the bed beside me despite the nurse's protests. She had kissed the edge of the bandage and cried. "This is the bravest thing I've ever seen." She had whispered, "I'll never let you think it's ugly." Standing on that stage, she raised a shaking hand toward my scar. "I knew you saved me." "No," I said. "You remembered when it was useful. That isn't fair. You called the price of saving you a distraction." Tears gathered in her eyes. "I didn't mean it that way. You said photographers didn't know how to frame me." I was angry. "You've hidden me from premieres for 3 years. That was my publicist. Your publicist worked for you." She turned toward Vanessa. Vanessa stepped backward. Serafina looked around for support and found only cameras. "I never asked you to run into that fire," she said. The room went silent again. I nodded once. "No, you only asked me to be ashamed that I survived it." Her face collapsed. Damon stepped in front of her. "This is emotional manipulation." Helena gave him a cold look. "You'd recognize that well." His jaw flexed. "What's that supposed to mean?" She handed another tablet to the technician. Messages appeared on the screen. They came from Damon's production account to his agent. "The pregnancy is a scheduling disease. Fix it or replace her." Another message followed. "She'll do it if she thinks the movie dies without her. Don't put anything in writing to Serafina." Serafina stopped breathing for a second. Then she looked at Damon. "What is that?" He stared at the screen. "Private messages taken out of context. You call my baby a disease." It was industry shorthand. There is no industry shorthand for that. Damon reached for her hand. She pulled away. "You told me the investors had already voted to replace me. They were concerned." Grant Mercer raised his voice from the front row. "We never discussed replacing you." Serafina turned toward him. "What?" Grant's face tightened. "We received Ronan's revised schedule. We were prepared to postpone principal action photography and shoot dialogue first." Her eyes moved back to me. I held her gaze. The movie was never in danger because of the pregnancy. She swayed slightly. Damon grabbed her elbow. She ripped her arm away. "You lied to me. I gave you the facts as I understood them. You said this was your last chance. It was. You said if I had the baby, the film would collapse. I said there was a risk. You sat outside the procedure room. His face changed. He saw the cameras. Then he made his choice. The termination was Serafina's decision. She stared at him. You told me to do it. No, I told you the schedule couldn't survive uncertainty. You booked the clinic. At your request, you gave me the doctor's name. You asked for options. Her voice rose. You held my phone while I signed the consent form. Damon stepped back. I was supporting a friend. A friend? He looked at the reporters instead of her. I want to be clear. I never pressured Serafina Hart to terminate a pregnancy. Any suggestion otherwise is false. Her mouth fell open. I watched the truth reach her. Damon had never been choosing her. He had been choosing the version of her career he thought he could use. The moment it became dangerous, he stepped away. She grabbed his jacket. You said we were doing this together. He removed her hand. This is your marriage. And the movie? There may not be a movie. Her face went blank. Helena moved between them and the microphones. Northstar is formally withdrawing insurance consideration, stage access, action unit support, vehicle inventory, and distribution services from Crossfire Hearts. Grant Mercer stood. Then financing is suspended. The director removed his event badge and placed it on the table. I'm out. Damon spun toward him. You signed a contract, contingent on insurance. Damon looked around as the project collapsed sentence by sentence. Then Serafina turned on Helena. You planned this. No, you've wanted him for years. Helena's expression changed slightly. Not guilt. Decision. Serafina pointed at her. That's what this is. You want Northstar. You want my husband. You saw a weak moment and used it. Helena looked at me first. She always did that before speaking about anything that involved my life. Then she faced Serafina. I have wanted Ronan for years. The room exploded with questions. Serafina gave a brittle laugh. No woman like you wants a man who hides behind a crew badge. Helena stepped closer. You still don't understand what you threw away. Serafina's chin lifted. You don't know our marriage. I know he spent 3 nights at County General after a stuntwoman broke her spine because her family couldn't fly in. Helena's voice stayed level. I know he paid a driver's medical bills after the studio classified his injury as a pre-existing condition. She pointed toward the crew. I know he remembers the name of every rigger, medic, and double on his productions. Then she looked at my scar. And I know that mark on his face is not ugly. It is the price he paid so 7 people could go home. Serafina's eyes filled. Helena did not soften. You mocked that price. You hid the man who carried you out of a fire. Then you ended his child to protect the comeback of a man who just denied you in front of the world. He is still my husband, Serafina said, only until he decides otherwise. Helena turned toward me. Her voice lost its corporate edge. When he is legally free, when he has had time to heal, and only if he chooses me, I would marry him without asking him to hide a single inch of his face. Even Damon looked stunned. Serafina stared at Helena, then at me. You're sleeping with her. No. You expect me to believe this came from nowhere? Helena respected my marriage more than you did. Miles Bennett stepped forward from the side of the stage. He carried a sealed envelope. Serafina looked at him and seemed to understand before he spoke. Ms. Hart, I represent Mr. Vale in the dissolution of your marriage. Her face went gray. Miles handed her the papers. She tore open the envelope, scanned the first page, and ripped it in half. There. Her breathing came fast. It's gone. Miles calmly removed a second copy from his briefcase. You can tear paper. You cannot tear up the filing. She looked at me. Ronan, don't do this here. You made our marriage public here. I was angry. You were honest. No, I wasn't. That's worse. She stepped toward me, but Helena moved aside rather than blocking her. She made it clear the choice belonged to me. Serafina grabbed my sleeve. Tell me what I have to do. I looked down at her hand. 6 years earlier, that hand had touched my bandages like they were sacred. At the clinic, it had held Damon's. On the stage, it had struck my work from my hands. I removed her fingers one by one. For 6 years, I did everything for you. I took my wedding ring from my pocket, her eyes fixed on it. I placed it in her palm and closed her fingers around it. Now you get to find out what you can do without me. The first thing I did as chairman of Northstar was remove my own name from Serafina's risk file. Not because I wanted to protect her, because for 6 years, my name had been the reason no one saw the truth. I sat at the head of the review table while North Star's insurance officers opened every production report connected to her career. Helena sat to my right. Miles Bennett sat across from me with the divorce documents. The chief risk officer, Leonard Shaw, adjusted his glasses. Are we suspending Ms. Hart from all North Star facilities? No. He looked surprised. Blacklisting her? No. Then what action are you authorizing? Treat her like every other performer. Leonard glanced down at the file. That may have the same result. That isn't my concern. Helena watched me carefully. I continued. No private guarantees. No discounted stunt teams. No exceptions based on my family trust. No incomplete medical reviews. If she qualifies, approve her. If she doesn't, reject her. Leonard nodded. That will require updated physical testing, a psychological risk assessment, and a review of her history of overriding coordinators. Then require it. Miles leaned back. Her attorneys will accuse you of retaliation. They can review every standard. Helena closed the report in front of her. And when they discover she received better treatment than anyone else in the industry, they'll understand why her career lasted this long. 3 days later, Serafina's studio postponed her franchise sequel. A week after that, the streaming platform developing her spy series removed her from the cast. Her publicist called it a temporary scheduling conflict. The insurer called it what it was, unacceptable risk, without North Star's guarantees. The reports became difficult to ignore. She had changed stunt choreography without approval 4 times. She had continued filming after medical staff ordered rest. 2 doubles had been injured while matching movements she insisted on performing for promotional footage. Those incidents had always disappeared beneath settlements and revised reports. My settlements, my reports, my signature. Serafina went on television and accused me of using North Star to destroy her. I watched the interview from my office. She sat beneath soft lights, wearing white and speaking with controlled sadness. My husband is hurt, she told the host. I understand that, but personal pain should never be used to punish hundreds of people working on a film. Helena stood beside my desk with her arms folded. She rehearsed that answer. She rehearses everything. The host asked whether Serafina regretted ending the pregnancy. Her lips trembled at the correct moment. I regret the pain surrounding it. Helena's mouth hardened. That isn't an answer. No. Serafina continued. But women should not lose control of their bodies because a powerful man disapproves of their choices. I turned off the screen. Helena looked at me. You know what she's doing? Yes. She's turning a marital betrayal into a corporate abuse story. I expected it. What do you want released? Everything connected to the risk review. Not the medical procedure? No. Helena studied me. She's using it against you. That doesn't make her private medical records public property. A faint expression crossed Helena's face. It was not surprise. It was the same look she had given me after I paid an injured stuntwoman's hospital bills without attaching North Star's name to the donation. You're still protecting her, she said. No, I'm protecting the line she crossed. North Star released the production records that afternoon. Every rejected project included the exact safety standard Serafina had failed to meet. We also released 5 years of internal exceptions. The public saw the difference immediately. I had not raised the standards after the divorce. I had stopped lowering them for my wife. Reporters asked Serafina why she had received private guarantees worth millions of dollars while presenting herself as a self-made action star. Her interview disappeared from the studio's website by morning. Damon disappeared even faster. He hired a crisis manager and claimed he had been manipulated by Serafina's ambition. Then, one of his assistants contacted North Star's legal department. Damon was attempting to sell private recordings, text messages, and clinic details to a gossip network. Miles placed the proposed contract on my desk. He wants $600,000 for betraying her, for calling it an exclusive account of emotional coercion. I read the first page. Damon planned to describe Serafina as unstable, obsessed with youth, and desperate to revive their old relationship. He intended to present himself as a recovering addict she had exploited. He kept recordings? I asked. Apparently. Of the clinic? Some before and after. My fingers tightened on the paper. Helena noticed. What do you want to do? Send it to Serafina's lawyer. Miles raised an eyebrow. You're warning her? I'm warning her attorney that Damon intends to sell confidential material. What she does with that information is her problem. Helena nodded once. Miles gathered the documents. You could let him destroy her. I could, but you won't. I don't need Damon to prove who she is. 2 nights later, a video appeared online. Not Damon's recording, a bystander's. Serafina had confronted him in the lobby of the Beverly Wilshire. The video began with her blocking his path. You were selling recordings of me? Damon looked toward the phones already pointed at them. Move. You recorded me after the procedure. I documented conversations. You told me I was safe with you. He laughed. You're worried about privacy now? Serafina grabbed his sleeve. You said we were rebuilding everything we lost. We lost it for a reason. You begged me to do that movie. And now there is no movie. Her face twisted. I gave up my child for it. Damon pulled his arm free. That was your decision. The lobby went silent. Even through a phone recording, I saw the moment the last lie inside her died. She stared at him. You told me North Star would never insure me if I stayed pregnant. You were married to the owner of North Star. How was I supposed to know you didn't know? A few people gasped. Damon realized what he had admitted and stepped toward the elevator. Serafina followed. You used me. He turned. We used each other. No. I believed you. That was your mistake. He shoved a photographer who moved too close. The man fell into a table. Police arrived before Damon left the hotel. By morning, his agent had dropped him. The court reviewing his old assault case ruled that the incident violated the conditions of his settlement agreement. His comeback was over, not delayed. Over. Serafina did not issue a statement. For the first time since I had known her, she had nothing to say. A month passed. I moved into a smaller house near the North Star training facility. The old home had too many rooms filled with decisions I could not undo. The box containing the crib stayed in storage. I never opened it. Instead, I worked. North Star's stunt performers had spent decades being treated as replaceable equipment. A broken camera received an immediate repair budget. A broken spine became an argument about liability. I created an independent safety division with authority to stop any production, including one approved by me. I proposed a medical and recovery fund for stunt workers injured during filming. At the first board meeting, one director objected. Permanent compensation will increase production costs. So do funerals. I said. He shifted in his chair. We already carry insurance. Insurance fights over whose responsibility the body is. Helena placed a report in front of him. North Star recorded 37 serious injuries across partner productions last year. 12 performers received no long-term rehabilitation coverage. The director frowned. We can't solve the entire industry. No, I said. We can solve the part we control. The motion passed. 3 weeks later, Serafina came to my office. My assistant called first. Ms. Hart is downstairs. She doesn't have an appointment. Is her attorney with her? No. Send her up. Helena was reviewing a distribution contract when Serafina entered. She stopped after seeing Helena. I need to speak to my husband alone. I looked at her. Soon-to-be ex-husband. Pain crossed her face. Helena closed the contract. I'll be in the boardroom. Serafina watched her leave. She listens to you. She respects me. You love reminding me of that. I didn't bring her up. Serafina looked different without the people who normally built her appearance. No assistant. No stylist. No publicist telling her where to stand. Her hair was pulled back. Her eyes looked swollen. She placed a folder on my desk. I withdrew from Crossfire Hearts. There is no Crossfire Hearts. I also terminated Damon's access to the development company. Damon already lost access when the financing collapsed. Her fingers curled around the folder. I fired Vanessa and my management team. That's your decision. I signed up for full stunt recertification. I waited. She looked frustrated by my lack of reaction. I'm trying. To do what? To become the person you thought I was. I didn't imagine who you were. Serafina. I watched who you became. Her breathing changed. She moved closer to the desk. I told the studio you deserve public credit for everything you did. I don't need your credit. I'll issue a statement. Don't. Her eyes widened. Why? Because it will look like part of the divorce settlement. Then tell me what you want. Nothing. She stared at me as if that answer frightened her more than anger. There has to be something. No. You loved me. I did. People don't stop loving someone in a month. No. Sometimes they stop building a life around that love. Her chin trembled. She stepped around the desk. Then she lowered herself to her knees. I stood immediately. Get up. She shook her head. Serafina, I know what I did. Then stand up. I killed our marriage. That isn't why you're on the floor. Her tears fell. I don't know what else to do. Begging is not accountability. She reached for my hand. I pulled it back. I can leave Hollywood, she said. I can stop acting. We can move somewhere no one knows us. You don't want that life. I want you. You wanted me when I was useful and invisible. That isn't true. You removed your wedding ring to sell a romance with Damon. I was afraid. Of what? Getting old. Being replaced. Becoming someone studios stopped calling. And I was supposed to lose my child so you could keep receiving calls. She covered her mouth as a sob escaped. I hear how it sounds now. It sounded the same when you said it at the clinic. I was confused. You were clear enough to sign the form. Her shoulders shook. I thought we could have another baby. I said nothing. She reached for my wrist and guided my hand toward her stomach. We still can. I pulled away before she touched me. She froze. I'll wait, she said quickly, until you're ready. I'll do everything right this time. A child is not a replacement part. Her face crumpled. That isn't what I meant. It is exactly what you meant. No, I meant we could build the family we planned. We planned a family with the child you ended. I can't change that. No. Then why won't you let me make something good after it? Because another child would be a person, not proof that I forgave you. She looked down. I would love that baby. You said you loved the first one. Her eyes closed. The room stayed silent until she whispered. Damon manipulated me. Yes. Her head lifted with desperate hope. You understand? I understand that he studied your fear and used it. Then you know I wasn't myself. No. He opened the door. You chose to walk through it. She pressed a fist against her chest. You make it sound so simple. The decision wasn't simple. I held her gaze. The betrayal was. She slowly stood. Her knees shook, but I did not reach for her. Did you ever really love me? She asked. I loved you enough to hide how much of your life I was holding together. Then love me enough to forgive me. I may forgive you someday. Hope flashed across her face. I finished. That doesn't mean I'll come back. She stared at me. Those are the same thing. No. Forgiveness means I stop carrying what you did. Reconciliation means I trust you not to do it again. I would never. You already did. She wiped her face with both hands. I hated your scar. I stayed still. She swallowed. I told myself it embarrassed me because of the cameras. That wasn't the truth. Then what was? Every time I looked at it, I remembered that you saved me. Her voice cracked. I remembered that my career existed because you ran into that fire. I remembered that you were braver than I was, that I owed you something I could never repay. You never owed me. I felt like I did, so you turned gratitude into resentment. She nodded, crying harder. I wanted to believe I had done everything alone. Damon made me feel like the star again. With him, the scar was romantic. With you, it reminded me I had survived because someone else was willing to burn. For the first time in years, she had told me the truth without polishing it. I felt no victory, only exhaustion. That is the most honest thing you've said since this began. She stepped toward me. Does it change anything? No. Her face went still. Why? Because honesty after destruction does not rebuild what you destroyed. She picked up the folder from my desk. At the door, she turned. Are you going to marry Helena? I don't know. She would say yes. That doesn't mean I'm ready to ask. Serafina looked at the scar she once called ugly. I hope she never makes you feel the way I did. So do I. She left without another word. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. Our prenuptial agreement kept North Star outside the marital estate. Serafina retained her personal property, investment accounts, and the house she had purchased before our marriage. I did not ask for damages. I did not demand the money she transferred into Damon's development company, although the court required her to reimburse half to the joint account. Miles questioned that decision. You could pursue more. I already lost what mattered. You're letting her leave with several $1,000,000. She earned some of it. He studied me. You don't want revenge. I wanted the truth. And now I want distance. Serafina's career did not disappear. That would have been too easy. She began taking supporting roles. Productions required her to use qualified doubles. She completed real safety training under coordinators who did not care how famous she had once been. For the first time, she heard the word no without expecting me to turn it into yes. Damon received probation and mandatory treatment after the hotel assault. No major insurer would cover him. The love cut faded from magazine covers. People found newer romances to worship. North Star changed too. The Vail Stunt Safety and Recovery Fund opened its first clinic 6 months after the launch disaster. At the opening ceremony, Ray Delgado shook my hand. My rider walks without a cane now. He said, I heard. She said to tell you she's coming back to work. Tell her the fund also covers career retraining. Ray smiled. She'll tell you where to put career retraining. That sounds like her. When the industry union honored North Star's reforms, I was asked to give a speech. A year earlier, I would have stayed backstage. This time, I stood beneath the lights. I did not hide the left side of my face. The people who make danger look beautiful are often the first people forgotten when the cameras stop. I said, this fund exists because applause does not pay for surgery, and a credit line does not support a family. I thanked the riggers, drivers, medics, coordinators, doubles, and fire teams. I did not mention Serafina. Some chapters should end without giving the person who caused them another line. 1 year after the Crossfire Hearts launch, Helena and I attended the fund's first charity gala together. We had spent the year working side by side. She had never asked when I would be ready. She had never used her declaration at the launch to pressure me. When reporters asked if we were dating, she answered the same way every time. Ronan has spent enough years being treated like someone else's property. That patience mattered more than her public promise. During the gala, a reporter stopped us near the entrance. Ms. Royce, does your marriage offer still stand? Helena looked at me before she answered. I don't make promises for cameras. The reporter smiled. So it wasn't just something said in the heat of the moment? No. And you would still marry him? Helena raised one eyebrow. I said I would wait until he was free and healed. I never said I would change my mind. I looked at her. You've been unusually patient for a woman who controls half of Hollywood. I control studios. She slipped her hand into mine. I don't control people. My fingers closed around hers. A year earlier, Serafina's hand had been holding Damon's while I built a crib for a child who was already gone. That memory still hurt. Maybe it always would. Healing had never meant pretending the fire did not burn. It meant learning I could walk away from it. Another reporter called out, Mr. Vale, now that you're publicly leading North Star, have you considered removing the scar? I touched the raised line along my cheek. Helena's eyes followed the movement, but she did not look away. No, I said. Why keep it? Because it reminds me who ran into the fire. I looked at Helena. Then I remembered the woman who had loved the scar when she needed a hero and hated it when the hero no longer improved her image. And it reminds me who only loved me when the flames made them famous. The reporter lowered his microphone. Inside my jacket pocket, my fingers touched a small ring box. Helena did not know it was there. I was not going to propose beneath cameras or turn our future into another studio headline. I leaned closer to her. Leave with me? She smiled. Before dessert, I need to ask you something. Her gaze softened. Somewhere private? Somewhere without reporters. Helena squeezed my hand. That may be the first sensible production decision you've made all year. We walked past the cameras together. No one asked me to turn my scar away from the light. No one asked me to stand behind them, and for the first time in years, I was not carrying someone else toward a future they would use to destroy me. I was walking toward my own.